Hello everyone, this is Michelle Fox and welcome back to The Simple Quilter. Today is part 2 of my fall pumpkin table runner video. Today I'll be showing you how to machine quilt and bind the table runner that we made in the previous video. Now in my previous video I told you how much that I really love using the 10-inch foundation squares and how easy it is to make simple, beautiful quilts with those. So the quilt behind me is a quilt that I made for my daughter when she was in sports in high school. It is just a lap size quilt, but I use the 10-inch foundation squares, and I just will step aside to show you how beautiful these quilts can be. I used the 1.5 strips. It was a fabric collection on a honey bun, and it really, I just love those 10-inch squares. I will be using some different supplies than what you've seen before. We're going to be using this 505 temporary fabric basting spray. This is what I use to base small quilts, table runners, baby quilts, wall hangings. I don't typically machine quilt large quilts, but I do use this basting spray. You'll need the walking foot that goes with your machine or a universal walking foot that will go with your machine. And then I just want to show you this basting kit. In my basting kit, I put a flannel sheet, blue painter's tape, and large and small clamps. And I'll be showing you how to use those in a little bit. Okay, as far as the fabric requirements go, you're going to need 4 2.5-inch strips by the width of a fabric. These are for the binding. These I have folded over and pressed in half, so they don't quite look like 2.5, but they are. And I just selected some fabric that would coordinate with the pieced border on the table runner. And then you'll need a piece of batting, which will be 19 by 35 inches. And then you'll need some backing fabric, and I just selected this brown fabric. It will coordinate with the piece border also, and it is 21 by 37. Okay, now I wanted to show you how I use this basting kit. So I typically do this on my kitchen table, but for recording purposes, I'm just going to do it on my cutting table. So what I do is I take the flannel sheet and I clamp it down to my table. Now this looks a little bit wrinkly, but you don't have to worry about that. That does not have to lay perfectly flat. Alright, the next thing I do is I just get my backing piece and I just smooth it out onto that piece of flannel. And the reason I use the flannel is because the flannel kind of secures the fabric and keeps it from shifting all over the place. Now if you want to, you can take the blue painter's tape and maybe secure it a little bit. This is not really necessary, but if you'd like to do that, that's fine. You can just secure the corners lightly. But really with the flannel, that's not needed. If you don't use the flannel, you definitely will need to put the painter's tape onto the corners. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to put on your batting. I'm going to take this out into my garage, and out there I have an area that's covered with plastic because you don't want any of the residue from the adhesive spray to get on any surfaces, because there is some, it will kind of drift around and it will get onto surfaces and leave kind of a sticky film, so you don't want to do that. Okay, so I took it outside, sprayed it, and I'm just going to lay that down there and smooth it out. And you want to leave a little bit of extra all the way around. Then I'm going to take the top of the table runner and I'm going to spray the back with the adhesive spray out in the garage. I'll bring it back in, and then I'm going to lay it on here, and I'm going to smooth it out. Just like that, with batting and backing, extra batting and backing all around the edge. All right, now this piece is basted. Just pull these off. And this is now ready to machine quilt. Okay, so the next thing you need to do is you need to decide how you're going to, what pattern you're going to use to quilt your quilt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use straight line quilting, and I'm just going to go, I'm going to switch to orange thread. I'm going to go up, over, down. I'm just going to make a little zigzag pattern. Come over, go up, and just make a little zigzag pattern. Alright, I'm going to go do that all through this quilt. Whoops. Up like that, and then down just like that. Then I'll switch to brown, and I'll do just inside this. I will do the leaf with green thread. I may decide to leave white thread, I'm not exactly sure yet. And I'll do that with each pumpkin, and then in the white I'll go around the edge, inside edge, then I'll go around the outside edge, and then I'll do these little triangles. Whoops. And then here at the top it's kind of a rectangle with a slanted edge. I'll do that. And then with these pieces I'm just going to go down, over, up, and back over. I think that will look really nice. And because the border's not very wide, after I sew the binding on, that will have been sewn down enough. And we won't need to do any additional quilting inside the piece border. Okay, so right here I've started sewing. It's 1/4 of an inch away. I have markings on my presser foot that show me where 1/4 of an inch is, and I'm just trying to stay 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Now, my machine setting is on 2.5 stitch length, and it's really important that you don't push or pull the fabric, because if you do, your stitch lengths, you're going to have tiny, tiny stitches, then you're going to have longer stitches, and that doesn't look well in your overall quilting. And you don't want to go really fast. And then I try to kind of keep the quilt rolled up a little bit so I don't have quite so much to manage. So let me just show you how we're going to go along here. Okay, so I'm going to go down some more. I'm going to turn the fabric all the way around, and then I'm going to use those markings on my presser foot to go back down the other route. Now you're going to see some little stitch lines there. I kind of messed up and I had to tear things out. Plus my video camera died, so I had to start over. Okay, so here we go. We're just going to go down here again. Stop at about 1/4 of an inch away, which is right there. Turn the fabric, or turn the quilt top, and keep sewing. And you're just going to repeat this until the entire pumpkin is done. And then I'm going to switch to white, and I'm just going to do 1/4 of an inch all around here. I'm going to go inside the little triangles and up and down these little sashings. I'll change to brown and do the stems, and green to do the leaves. And then just before I trim everything, I'm going to go right out here on the edge, and I like to do 1/8 of an inch all the way around the edge before I put the binding on. Okay, now I'm hoping that you can see how the quilting turned out. It turned out really nice. Okay, so I'm going to trim these edges up, and I'm going to trim right along the edge of the quilted piece. Just like that. Alright. Alright, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to get your binding pieces. These two, you're going to cut your 2-inch binding pieces and you are going to press them right in half. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to open them up. We're going to put our right sides together. And I have to pin these. Now I do have the selvage on here, but those will be being trimmed off, so we don't have to worry about those. Right. Okay. Then, once we have that pinned, oh shoot. Alright. So once we have that pinned, we're just going to take our ruler and our marking pen and we're going to go from point to point and just draw a line. Alright, and then we're going to sew on that line. We're going to then take our ruler when we get done and we're going to trim off 1/4 of an inch. Okay, then the third one, you're going to need 3 strips. The third one, oops. Then the third one, we're going to put right sides together. Pin those. And again, you're just going to mark from corner to corner. You're going to sew along the line and then you're going to trim off 1/4 of an inch and then press the seam. Okay, the next thing we want to do, we want to take our binding that we've sewn together and we're just going to pin it, and we're going to leave about an 8-inch tail on that. And then what I like to do, I like to just kind of practice here to make sure that none of my binding is going to end up with a crease in the corner, and it's not. But I'm going to go ahead and check the rest of it. And that just gives you a rough idea. See, here's the other seam. So I'm going to have plenty of room there. Okay, so now this part is really important. You're going to start right here where the pin is, and you're going to sew 1/4 of an inch clear down to the corner. And I like to mark 1/4 of an inch, and I put a dot right there. Alright, so I'm going to sew down here and I'm going to stop at the dot. You can even do a little back tack there if you want. Okay, so you're going to sew there. Once you take that out of the machine, you're going to turn this back on itself like that. That's going to be about a 45-degree angle. That's going to make a 90-degree angle. And then you bring it right back down. And then you're just going to start sewing 1/4 of an inch here from the edge. And you're going to keep doing that and do the same thing at every corner. Then, when you come back around here, you're going to stop about right here. Let me see. You're going to stop about right here, and you're going to leave a tail on this side. We're going to leave that part open. Okay, so I'm going to do that part, and then I'll show you how to proceed from there. Okay, so I wanted to show you this again after I had sewn. So I sewed 1/4 of an inch right up to that 1/4 of an inch dot that I marked. Then we're going to take the binding and we're going to fold it back on itself just like that. Going to give that a good finger press, and then you're going to go again right here. Okay, and I'm just going to pin that to keep that in place. Okay, and then I'll just start off the quilt top and sew right back down there 1/4 of an inch all the way to the next corner. So this part is finished. So see how I stopped and back tacked there, and I stopped and back tacked there, and I had these tails left on there. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to trim one. Then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to take the width, the 2.5 inches, and measure. See, I'm measuring from here to here, and then I'm just going to cut that off right there. Right? Trim off just a little bit. Alright. Okay, then what we're going to do, we're going to take these 2 pieces and we are going to put them with the right sides together. I'm going to pin that. Hard to see. I hope that you can see that okay in the video. I'm going to pin it over here. Again. Pin it right here. Alright. Then we're just going to take that and we're going to draw a line from this corner. We're going to go from that corner down to this corner. And we're just going to draw a little line. Keep that pin back. And we're going to just sew on that line. Then we're going to trim that off. You see how I drew that line? We're going to sew right on the line. Then I'm going to trim off 1/4 of an inch and I'm going to press it. Now, before I trim that, I am just going to check it out a little bit, because once you trim that, you're not going to be able to go back and fix any mistakes. So see how that's going to work right there? It's a little off right there, but it will be okay. I'm just going to have to kind of eyeball 1/4 of an inch. The reason I didn't use my rotary cutter is because I didn't leave that opening big enough. I mean, I can still, I don't know if I told you or not, but this is the back of the fabric, and you want to be sure you're sewing your binding onto the back. You're going to pull the binding over into the front, and I will pin this on going to do a little top stitch just right along the edge. Now when you sew that, you want to be sure that you catch the back and try to stay on the orange. Otherwise you'll kind of slip off into the brown. It will be okay, but you do want to try to minimize that as much as you can. And the trick to all that is being able to feel that and be sure you're going slow. So let me show you how you do here at the corner. Pin just a little bit more in the corner. Okay, so when you come up to the corner, you want that to come straight out like that. And you're going to finger press it, and then you're going to come straight back and look at that nice point that you have. Alright, you're just going to pin that, and you're going to do that with every corner. Okay, so let me just show you here. The corners turned out nicely. Let me just show you here. So the corners turned out nicely. Okay, so there we have it. It's all finished and it's all ready to decorate with. I just really like how that turned out. How fun. Okay, now let me show you how to do the bonus project. Okay, so for the bonus project, we had these little extra strips. These were the extra strips with just the vertical and horizontal pumpkins. And if you have these, you're just going to line them up like that. Put them there together. Line them up where the seams are matching. Here's how I did with the diagonals. And I tried to get these little points to match up. Alright, and then I just sewed those little strips together. And I sewed the strips together just like this and made a little piece like that. Then you're going to take your backing and you're going to put it together just like we did the big quilt. And then I did straight line machine quilting up, down, and made a diagonal pattern. And I made this. This is a little mug rug. Just a fun, easy, quick thing for the fall. Now I did stitch this down by hand. But those just make a fun little neat gift for your quilt friends or just to toss in on the counter in your room to hold your little snack and your drink. Okay, so I do hope you enjoyed the two projects today that we finished up, the table runner or the wall hanging, however you prefer to use it, and the little mug rug, which of course will make a cute gift for a quilter or just to toss on your counter and for you to use. So if you liked today's video, please hit the like button. If you'd like to join me again, hit the subscribe button. And as always, leave a comment. It helps drive my content. And my next video will show you how to prepare a quilt top for a long arm quilter. And until next time, have fun quilting.